on its way toward the wall. Unbelievable base running. Did he get it? Did he get it? Oh, my goodness. No way. They're going crazy. Can you believe it?
Go crazy, Cub fans. Your team is World Series champions. Welcome to MLB Tonight, presented by Evan Williams Bourbon. This, right now, a live look outside Wrigley Field. Chicago Cubs, the ones that were not inside Progressive Field in Cleveland, Ohio tonight, enjoying their team's first World Championship since 1908. And the Chicago Cubs become the first team since the 1979 Pittsburgh Pirates to win Game 6 and Game 7 on the road. Welcome inside our MLB Tonight studios, Eric Burns, Robert Flores. Our crew is getting set up out in Wrigley. We'll take you out there. You're going to hear from all the particulars live, including the managers. And Eric, for a team that was personified by curses and grief, they showed resiliency tonight. And you could just, and a great deal of relief for the fan base. What a game.
I'm trying to figure out what just happened. I mean, normally through the course of the game, I'll take some notes and I'll pull up some interesting parts of the game that will say, oh, okay, this is something I need to get to. It's like, throw the notes out there. Like, at this point, I think we just kind of have to work backwards. And you know, Montgomery coming in to get the last out. How about Carl Edwards Jr., a 48th round draft pick from South Carolina who was with the Texas Rangers, just a couple years ago and came out of nowhere in to close the game in the ninth. Ben Zobrist with the double. Miguel Montero, a former teammate of mine, Roflo, getting the job done. But Rajay Davis, I want to sit here and celebrate him for a minute because what he did, the homer off of Chapman, and then there's so many elements of, like, Chapman, like, mixing a slider, dude.
Yeah.
Why weren't you throwing a slider? And then the other thing is, Chapman, how many pitches are you going to throw?
97 pitches in the last 3 games.
And then Joe Maddon, Javier Baez. I don't know who instructed that, the butt.
There is a lot of chapters and layers to what we saw tonight. And unfortunately, what is not going to get talked about a whole lot is, I use the word resiliency. Give this Cleveland team a ton of credit. And granted, they were up 3-1, but to fall early in the deficit that they faced tonight and able to come back, I mean, that deserves some credit. Ultimately fell short, though.
Well, and they did. And good for Chicago. It's 108 years, yada, yada. None of these people waited around 108 years. They definitely were not alive back then.
Here's more reaction. And I use the word relief to describe this win. I mean, because that has to be a part of it. Also, I mean, there's a little bit of a charmed existence right now for this Cubs team, which is crazy considering all the angst and all the misery that this franchise has endured. Joe Maddon made so many curious moves, Eric, but ultimately it doesn't matter.
I don't want to be a jerk here. And you know, I just...
Don't let me stop you.
I feel like I'm being irresponsible if I don't come on here and speak what I feel is the truth. They won in spite of Joe Maddon. He made one decision after another that had me scratching my head and then eventually, Robert, ripping my hair out. What was he doing?
Still looks good.
Still a little flow. Yeah.
Okay, so taking out Kyle Hendricks early in the game, big problem with that?
That was number one.
Okay, all right. What was the other one in leaving Aroldis Chapman in or bringing him in?
Bringing him in, you could say, is the other thing. First of all, even bringing Lester in that situation with a runner on base, right, which made it a real curious thing. And then Lester comes in, and then Ross has to come in with Lester. Both of them are cold, but he said it before the game that he doesn't want to bring him in with anybody on base.
Why do you think he changed his mind?
I have no idea.
Lester talked him into it or something?
It seems like an obvious time that you would have used a Carl Edwards Jr., that you would have used a Montgomery at that point. Mm-hmm. But you bring in Lester in this whatever situation, and then they end up giving up 2 runs right there. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on this right now because, again, we need to celebrate the Cubs. And Joe Maddon, despite me disagreeing, and I'm sure a lot of other people, including Cubs fans, disagreeing with a lot of the decisions that he made, is still one of the best managers, if not the best manager in the game. The bunt with 2 strikes. Hold on a second.
Javi Baez.
If there's one thing, I threw this on Twitter right away. If there's one thing that I could teach the next generation, when you have a runner on third base and less than 2 outs and 2 strikes on you.
Right.
Swing the freaking bat! What are you doing? And I gotta believe that it came from Joe Maddon. There's no other way, because you saw Javier Baez, who was so upset after. And we were talking about it. Chinch and Rohenbeck were in my ear, Roflo, and they were saying, our producers, they're saying, hey, guess what? Maddon's going to throw on a squeeze right here. I'm like, dude, no, he's not. Shut up, right? Sure enough, I think you even did hey, he might do it. He's done it before. I'm like, no way. I said, if I was Baez and he gave me the squeeze, no, I'm swinging away.
Here's some, now clearly, a lot of things have changed since the last time the Cubs won the World Series. In 1908, Teddy Roosevelt was the president. There was 46 states, and Wrigley Field, that hadn't even been built yet. And oh, by the way, for some reason, they had a giant rat as their mascot. I'm not quite sure. Oh, it's a Cub? Is that what you're telling me? Okay, that's on me. But once again, our post-game coverage from Wrigley Field is just moments away. You'll hear from both managers.
The irony, real quick.
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt was president, right?
Yes.
His motto: speak softly, carry a big stick. The ultimate World Series hero, the go-ahead RBI, Ben Zobrist, a guy that speaks softly, and man, he's carrying a big stick.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. All right, let's show you how it unfolded. Here we go, Game 7. Corey Kluber on the hill. Dexter Fowler leading off for Chicago. Dexter Fowler going off. Speaking of guys that had been overworked and taxed,
we haven't
Corey
talked
Kluber.
about him yet.
Corey Kluber.
What a way to start off the World Series for a guy that nobody believed was going to be back in Chicago this year.
Yeah. Carlos Santana facing Kyle Hendricks. Lines 1. Here comes Coco Crisp, and we're tied at 1 later in the inning. Francisco Lindor looks a lot like El DeBarge. Flies out to Ben Zobrist. Then Mike Napoli sharply hit to Chris Bryant, and Kyle Hendricks limits the damage. In the 4th, Addison Russell. Runners at the corners. Rajay Davis collects it, and Chris Bryant tags and scores.
Such a big play. Such a big play. You saw Rajay Davis come in. He had an opportunity to get behind that ball a little bit better. He hesitated. Big run for the Cubs.
Next batter, Wilson Contreras. Over the head of Rajay Davis. Zobrist scores. 3-1 Chicago. In the 4th, Javier Baez. Bye. Kluber, 4 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs. First time in his career, no strikeouts.
That's what made the Maddon decision of having him bunt even more interesting. You saw Javier Baez starting to lock it in, and boom, with the Oppo Taco-licious.
Corey Kluber was not as dominant as he once was earlier in this series. Same can be said for Andrew Miller tonight, Eric.
Well, you just wonder if all the innings and pitches thrown had caught up to him, but he had 3 days rest, so little head scratching.
Yeah. John Lester on in relief for the first time since the 2007 League Championship Series. Did not start well. That ball, a wild pitch. It goes off of David Ross's helmet. 2 runs score, and just like that, Cleveland is down 5-3. But in the 6th, Ross, playing in his final major league game of his big league career, takes Andrew Miller out.
I rode the buses with this dude in the Dominican Republic, Aguilas, Lice. I'm telling you what, we put down plenty of Presidentes. Couldn't have happened to a better guy.
Lester strikes out Kipnis, and he gives the awkward fist pump. Yeah, let's do this. In the 8th, all right, Aroldis Chapman. But you know what, Eric? Rajay Davis was on his... He was on Aroldis Chapman's fastball all throughout that at bat. He choked up, and he got one.
I told you, you got to throw him a slider. He hasn't thrown a slider. He's got to throw him a slider. Another fastball gone.
Now in the 9th, runner at 3rd. Francisco Lindor collects it behind the bag and throws out Dexter Fowler, and we go to extra innings. Well, not yet. In the 9th, Lindor flies out to Hayward. Now we go to extra innings after Aroldis Chapman threw his 5,000th pitch in the last 2 days. After a brief rain delay, Kyle Schwarber All this guy does is hit.
That's it.
I mean, he just rolls out of bed and he gets like, you know, two hits, a knock,
Meat and
an
potatoes.
RBI.
Meat and potatoes. Then Almora Jr. comes in to pinch run, and
That's
this right here could be the play of the game.
Intentionally walked
No.
Rizzo.
This is the tag-up play of Almora going to second base.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So this right here, Robert, I'm thinking to myself, what's he doing tagging up on that play? What if the ball hit off the wall?
Now it's Ben Zobrist down the line.
That's after walk to Rizzo. And there it is.
Cubs back on top. Ben Zobrist with his first hit of Game 7. Did he touch home plate? Yeah, he touched. Look at Rizzo's reaction. Yes, I can't believe it.
Oh.
Now Miguel Montero, you called it. You said this guy's got a lot of guts.
I used another word.
You did.
But Miguel Montero and Marco Scudero, the two players that I played with, that I wanted up with all of the pressure, with the game on the line, every single time, those would be my 1 and 2 in my career.
Now Trevor Bauer, he comes out of the pen, strikes out Jason Hayward, who looked miserable in that at bat. Now Javier Baez flies out.
Could have used that the last at bat for the sac fly.
Now in the 10th, Harl Edwards Jr. strikes out Mike Napoli for out number 1 at 96 miles per hour.
Filthy.
Now Ramirez. Addison Russell, out number 2. That brought up Brandon Geyer, who had a huge hit in the 9th. He draws a walk, and then Rajay Davis
Are you kidding me with Rajay
comes
Davis?
through again.
I mean, oh, greatest player ever. Seriously?
Now the winning run comes to the plate, but after they bring in Montgomery. Michael Martinez, 0 for 3 in the postseason. A little nubber. Chris Bryant is there, slipped a little bit as he threw, and that's it. The Chicago Cubs becoming the first team since the 1979 Pittsburgh Pirates to win Game 6 and Game 7 on the road. It's a celebration as the Cubs win 8-7. 24 hits combined. The Cubs win despite 3 errors. All right, so now we send it out to Cleveland. Brian Kenny, Dan Plesac outside Cleveland's Progressive Field. Gentlemen.
All right, Robert, thank you so much. You know, we've seen history unfold in front of us, Dan, and we knew it was coming, and yet it was still spectacular in a Game 7 where, for the first time ever, out of 5 extra inning games in World Series Game 7 history, the road team actually wins one of these games.
This Game 7 had a little bit of everything. Abbreviated starting pitching. We've unleashed these bullpens, and I think what we saw tonight, we saw bullpens that have been so good, but Andrew Miller not quite as sharp. Aroldis Chapman not as sharp as we've seen him. This was a terrific Game 7.
Hey, these guys were gassed, and there's a lot to go over. But first of all, let's start with this. Dan, it was 5-1 Cubs in the 5th. It was 6-3 Cubs in the 8th. I was already writing my cards out, talking about Tinker to Evers to Chance. Cubs break the curse, all this stuff, and then suddenly Rajay Davis had a different idea.
You know, Brian, this game had so many twists and turns. I thought going into the 8th inning that Joe Maddon might have been a little bit guilty of over-managing. I thought Kyle Hendricks was throwing the ball really well. The walk to Carlos Santana, they take him out of the game. Joe Maddon told us before the game that he would not bring John Lester in unless it was a clean inning. That didn't happen. The walk, he brought John Lester in, as we call, with traffic. And I thought Aroldis Chapman, he showed the effects, I think, of getting in Game 5, or getting in Game 6. He wasn't real sharp tonight.
Look, that's exactly what we were talking about after Game 6, was that it was pretty stunning to bring in your relief ace with a 5-run lead. Now,
I would say, and I did say on our air earlier today, very defensible in that this day was not guaranteed, and yet you could see immediately Chapman was feeling those effects. There's a price to be paid.
You know, Brian, the first thing I thought of was, are you getting Corey Kluber, right? You're going on short rest. Hey, we're talking about it this postseason, Clayton Kershaw. But are you really getting Clayton Kershaw?
Right.
I don't really thought we got Andrew Miller, and I don't think we saw the real Aroldis Chapman. Both of those power relievers were tired.
And the headline is, let's not bury the lead, the Cubs are World Series champions in one of the great all-time Game 7s. Dan, I can only say 1960, where the Pirates upset the mighty Yankees. Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra, and the Yankees, where in the top of the ninth, the Yankees trailed 9-7. Mantle with an RBI, Berra with an RBI, 9-9. Bill Mazeroski, first guy up in the bottom of the ninth, ends it. I think this game is there. What do you think?
I think you hit it perfectly. We were watching this game the last inning in the sweep. I thought the Indians had the Cubs on the ropes in the bottom of the ninth when they tied it. You were right. They had Chapman on the ropes. They had the Cubs on the ropes. They couldn't deliver that knockout blow in the ninth. The little rain delay, and the Cubs came back and showed that their 103-win team wasn't a fluke. They're the best team in baseball.
Corey Kluber went 4, Andrew Miller 2 1/3, Cody Allen 2, so he's really using his horses there. And then Brian Shaw ends up going 1 inning, and he gives up the run. So let's go right now. Trevor Bauer actually came back in. Trevor Bauer came in, got 2/3 of an inning. Let's go to Terry Francona at the podium speaking to the media.
Want to say anything first, or?
Yeah, I probably should. Thanks. We can certainly you can certainly ask questions. I think it's appropriate to congratulate the Chicago Cubs, Joe Maddon and Theo and Jed and Mr. Ricketts and their entire organization. That was quite a series, and you knew somebody was going to go home happy. But they deserve a lot of congratulations, and also just a quick thought that it's hard not to think of Mike Hirschbeck on a night when you see John umpiring his last game, so that was kind of in our thoughts too. Okay.
Take just a few questions. Jordan? Yeah.
Tito, just what can you say about, especially the late innings, just the fight that the guys showed, kind of been the signature all season for you guys?
That was an incredible game. I mean, to be a part of. And I talked before the game about being an honor to be in a game like that, but to be associated with those players in that clubhouse, it is an honor. And I just told them that, it's going to hurt. It hurts because we care. But they need to walk with their head held high, because they left nothing on the field. And that's all the things we ever asked them to do. They tried until there was nothing left.
Who else? Okay. On the other.
There's Terry Francona, obviously subdued. There are the Chicago Cubs, 103 wins, year 5 of the rebuilding project, undergone by Theo Epstein. That man right there, down with his wife, his child. Theo comes in, year 5, 103 wins. Bill Murray's been waiting his whole life. All those celebrity Cubs fans, Dan Plesac, they were there, they were raucous, very nervous, even in Chicago when they were down 3-1.
I will say this, Brian. I played for the Cubs in 93 and 94. He's not a fair weather fan. Bill Murray, is a diehard Cub fan through good and bad, and he's getting now to just absorb all this in.
It is kind of a shock. Let's deal with the Indians for a moment. They're up 3-1, coming home, feeling very good. 3-2, excuse me. They have a good shape. They felt like they had this going. This city definitely felt like the odds had to be in their favor.
You know what's amazing? Even though the Cubs were down 3-1, you had to love, if you're going to be down 3-1, to have John Lester, Jake Arrieta, and Kyle Hendricks. What I think eventually showed, Brian, their superiority in their starting pitching. They were more accountable, and you could count on the Cubs starting pitching. Kyle Hendricks was good enough, and I think what we saw, Corey Kluber 2 times on short rest, pitching 1, 4, and 7. He wasn't the same tonight.
And look, just the enormous amount of talent on the Chicago Cubs. Dexter Fowler with a leadoff home run. Kyle Schwarber was a monster again. And this man, of course, came out. By the way, Chris Bryant had a tremendous game on the bases at the plate. But here, just moments before he was named the World Series MVP, Jon Morosi speaking with Ben Zobrist.
Ben Zobrist, a world champion for the second straight year. How does that sound?
I mean, incredible. You know what? This team, this experience, being a Chicago Cub is unbelievable. I can't put into words, describe the emotions right now, but, you know, it was a tumultuous game, you know, up and down to say the least. And man, to come out on top, to see our team keep battling, we never quit. And it's a testament to every one of the guys in the clubhouse. Every guy, from the first guy to the last guy, has contributed their part. And, you know, the attitudes have stayed consistent, and everybody stays positive and picks each other up. It's the ultimate team. It's unbelievable.
17-minute rain delay had to feel like an eternity. What did you guys tell each other to get yourselves refocused and have this amazing result here tonight?
Oh my goodness, we had a player meeting down in the weight room. You know, just a pick-me-up meeting. Guys, forget about whatever happened before, and let's win this game. We're the best team. That's what we told each other. We're the best team, and we just had to come out and prove it. You know, Cleveland's a great team, and they never quit either. They're so tough, and you know, I have a ton of respect for every guy over there. But you know what? We're the best team this year, and you know, I'm just blessed to be a part of it, man. I don't know what to say.
Well, they wouldn't have done it without you, Ben. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Back to you guys.
Jon Morosi, thank you so much. And there's Ben Zobrist. Look at Ben Zobrist's numbers in the World Series. 10 for 28. That's a .357 batting average, scoring 5 runs. Dan, he can play all over the field, and he is part of that. We talked about the player development program by the Chicago Cubs and their rebuilding effort under Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer was really remarkable. But they also went and spent the money then. Zobrist, John Lester, Jason Hayward, they ramped it up. They kind of showed the modern way to build a championship foundation.
You know, Brian, what's going to get lost in this, and we're not talking about how big the effort of John Lester, the Game 5 starter, right? To come back and pitch in this Game 7 and to pitch effectively. You know what I noticed about this Cub team, Brian, and I think you're onto something. I think we're going to start seeing more teams like the Cubs. They're going to have their benchmark, Anthony Rizzo and Brian III, but we're going to see more teams that have guys that are rotating, that can play multiple positions. They're going to try to spend 400 or 500 at bats and move guys around. Yeah. I think the days of having 9 guys and you're going to just plant them in one spot, those days are over.
Hey, if you could go out and get the big red machine, you're in good shape, right? Yes. But that's very difficult. By the way, once again, Theo Epstein goes into a franchise that was deemed cursed and could not win in a large city. And that is no longer true. Theo Epstein is a Hall of Fame general manager, slayed the curse in Boston. He had a good team coming in. This team, though, this foundation was not solid. He built this club.
He did, Brian, and there were a lot of people that were critical saying, okay, you don't have that big purse string that you had with the Boston Red Sox. And there were some times, listen, Brian, it wasn't that long ago, a couple of seasons ago, there were a lot of empty seats in August and September down those left and right field lines at the corner, Clark and Addison. And a lot of people started doubting, were they really going to be able to pull this off?
Right.
The answer is yes. And I really think, Brian, they might be on the beginning of one of those runs like the Yankees had. They have great personnel. Yep. They have money. They have an upgraded facility, a minor league system that's the NBA of baseball. Right. They have everything to keep this going for a while.
You're absolutely correct. And I just want to go back. You're right. Year one, they have a low payroll. They have 101 losses. They were just worried. I remember speaking to Jed Hoyer once. He said toward the end of the season, we were looking ahead, but we actually had fear. Do we have enough innings to finish this season from the pitchers? Like, they had to deal with just the physical reality of that. Meantime, another player that they got this year, they got him back. They didn't think they would have him. Got him on a 1-year deal. Worked out pretty well, especially first inning tonight. Dexter Fowler, he's with Jon Morosi.
Dexter Fowler, congratulations. How do you describe what just happened?
I can't. This is the greatest game I've ever played in my life. It's the team. I mean, it's unbelievable. I'm lost for words right now. It's thank you, Chicago. Thank you for everybody. We never stopped fighting. We never stopped fighting. We had a little talk together, and we came out on top.
You mentioned the talk. Who talked and what was said there during that rain delay?
Hey, it was between the boys. It was between the boys, but we all we all put it in, and that was the greatest rain delay ever.
What does it say, Dexter, about the resolve of this team? All the history, everything that happened in this game, and you still came out on top.
Our motto is we never quit, and that's what we live by. And I don't care how many runs we were up, if we were tied, we never were quitting. So everybody, it was a team effort, and I'm so happy right now.
Last couple ones for you. At the final out, what did you think of?
I almost passed out. I was like, is it over? Is it over? I had to blink twice.
Dexter, last one for you. You had the very first leadoff home run ever in a winner-take-all World Series game. What will that mean to you here for generations in your life to come?
They've been telling me all year, you go, we go. So I just try to get out and get something to hit and get on base, and it happened to go out the park.
Dexter, congratulations. You're a world champion.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Dan Plesac, this was one of the all-time great postseasons. One great game through the division series, wild card games, so many fascinating things, and it's capped off by one of the all-time great Game 7s, even regardless of the franchises playing in them. But the fact that they were, the Cubs and the Indians, the long-suffering fan bases, makes it one of the greatest games, greatest postseasons we've ever seen.
I think you have to really tip your cap to the Indians. They took down a really good Red Sox team, and I thought the best team in the AL in the Toronto Blue Jays. But even go back to the series with the Cubs and the San Francisco Giants, if it weren't for a big heroic comeback for the Cubs, they were in trouble. They were also down 2-1 against the Dodgers. I think what it has showed, Brian, they're the best team. They come at you in waves. They have quality and quality and more quality and more quality. They're the best team in 2016.
Absolutely. That does not mean you win the World Series, though, but it did this year after so many crazy things that went on during this game. As John Morosi said, yeah, even a rain delay. Then it started raining. It was biblical suddenly here in Cleveland on a warm November night. The postseason, the postgame just getting started here. Postgame's over. Postgame is just getting started here. We're going to send it down to the field right now. Greg Amsinger leading the crew. Greg, take it away.
BK, Dan Plesac, thank you so much. What a treat this was. It never wanted to end. The baseball season never wanted to end. It's Penguin Herald and Al. This party, I don't believe will ever end. I think they'll party until they get on a plane, and when they land in Chicago, Harold, the party will continue.
It's never going to stop. They've been waiting a long time for this, but, you know, back to, I was down on the field when the guys were celebrating. There was a look on their face of exhaustion.
Right.
One, they were excited, but, man, they were exhausted. What a game.
I look at this game, and there's so many facets, and I know we're going to get to delve into it, but this game really was a snapshot of the entire series. I mean, you had the underdog Indians, across the board, the Cubs were the favorites. The way the game plays out, Rajai Davis ties the game up late. You got against Aroldis Chapman, the managerial moves, the pitching, the starters that get taken out early. And then to watch what we just watched here for a franchise that hadn't had a winner in 108 years, I mean, this is special.
Admit it, when it was 5-1 in the fifth, did you think the game was over?
Oh, no doubt.
Cubs up 5-1 in the fifth.
Game over.
Did you think it was over?
Marginally.
Marginally.
I tell you what, I did. I did because I think mostly in the end, and just listening to Dan and BK, the Cubs are a superior team in different facets, and I think it showed tonight. And that's zero knock against the Cleveland Indians.
Well, this game showed the type of team the Indians are. This is a club that the pitching staff was depleted. They didn't have a deep roster. They got the most out of all their guys. And it was every night a different guy showed up. Tonight, Rajai Davis out of nowhere. We weren't expecting that, right? Off Chapman? Here you go. You're back in it again. Just everything. And this is a night that Kluber and Miller showed that their whole season's work was spent. They were wore out.
And on top of that, as great as this young, talented team is, and I believe that this team is going to be excellent for a few years, certainly, you had Zobrist come through in the end, Miguel Montero, veteran guys, Ross going out.
Ross hit a homer.
Ross hit a homer, thanks. So that combination and mix of this roster, pretty special.
It was like an epic heavyweight fight where both fighters were exhausted, and one of them just kind of fell down at the end. Kyle Schwarber's not a veteran. He's a young dude. 3 for 5 in Game 7 of the World Series, a game the Cubs win in 10 innings, 8-7, first world title in 108 years. And John Paul Morosi caught up with the Cubs DH.
Kyle Schwarber, you are a World Series champion. How does that sound?
It's phenomenal. It's what you dream of as a little kid, and for it to come true. And with this group, man, it was so fun watching these guys play throughout the year, grinding their butts off. And we faced a lot of adversity. We overcame it. And now we're champs. We love it. We love it.
You've talked so much about how much love you have in that clubhouse for each other. How did you see that come out during that rain delay as you talked amongst yourselves?
We just wanted to pull together. We knew that we had a good chance. It wasn't over. The momentum obviously changed, but we're still a good ball club. We won 103 games for a reason. We do things like this to come back, and now we're champs, man. It's awesome. It's awesome.
The winning rally started with your base hit. What was your focus, your approach there in the 10th inning?
I know he has a really good cutter, throws it really hard. I just wanted to get it down to the zone and get the head out on it. I just wanted to make sure that it was down and get the head out and try to do damage with it. Luckily, I hit it hard enough to get it past the shifts. And Albert running for me, awesome. Zobrist, base hit down the line, unbelievable. Miggy with the biggest hit right there. Wow, unbelievable.
Last couple ones for you. You're from Middletown, Ohio. Who from that town, who from your family are you thinking of right now?
Everyone, man. I mean, that's where it all started right there in Middletown. And, playing baseball with my group of friends back at home. And we're all still best friends now. It's great. My family's here. I love them to death. They taught me all. I can't thank them enough.
Last one for you. When you got on that plane to come here for game one, could you ever have imagined the story ending quite like this?
No, not at all. I didn't think I was ever going to play this year, and I'm blessed to be here and blessed to be a part with these guys. And we're champs. I love it.
You're a world champion, Kyle. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Back to you guys.
Kyle Schwarber hit .412 with a 500 on base in the World Series. And it is something we must never forget, that this guy played 3 games and they put him on a private plane to fly to the World Series. So this young player, this is not a veteran, Al.
2 years.
Could come back and do what he did in this World Series.
Amazing. Couple years in the big leagues, and he's now part of the history. And just as you described, major knee injury, and here he had a fantastic World Series.
I've never seen anything like it.
It's a great story. It's the biggest story in sports. The Cubs have won the World Series. The Cubs won the World Series. Are you guys ready? 2 hours nonstop. The biggest story in America. The Cubs are world champions. We're back in a minute. It's Game 7. It's the last game of 2016.
This feels like the center of the universe right now.
One game for that World Series championship.
For the 38th time in World Series history.
Welcome, everyone, to MLB Tonight from the World Series, presented by Evan Williams Bourbon. It was 100 years in the making. The Cubs did everything they could to win this World Series. They were down 3-1. They had to win 3 in a row, last 2 on the road. First team to do that since the 1979 Pittsburgh Pirates. But they came to Cleveland, and their young star players came through. The Chicago Cubs have won the 2016 World Series in an epic Game 7. It's Greg Amsinger on the field here in Cleveland, alongside my friends Harold Reynolds and Al Leiter. Guys, 8-7 the final in 10. One of the greatest World Series games we've ever seen.
Oh, it was terrific. It had everything. You know, you got a dramatic home run from Rajai Davis. You got a 5-1 lead, and out at 5-1, I thought game over. No doubt.
It looked that way. And I think really this was a snapshot really of the 7-game series. This was a special game. I agree with you. It's going to go down in epic lore for what an amazing game. The resiliency of an Indian team that didn't give up, tying the game up in the 8th, going into extra innings, managerial decisions, fatigued players, pitchers that were overused and maybe underused.
Did you like the game? I think you liked the game.
It was a great game.
Oh, my God.
Did you think it was over in the 5th inning when it was 5-1 Cubs?
Yeah, I really did. I really did because
I did.
They
The way
were
it
lined
played out.
up. Hendrick was throwing great. You knew the bullpen was going to be coming in, but I thought for sure. But Al, I want to ask you this: you played in an extra inning game like this for Game 7. What's going on in the dugout?
The
strategies.
You're nervous. You're hoping. I mean, in the case for me, I was out of the game and I'm watching it, and you're just every single pitch. We talk about it so often. It matters. Every play, every bounce of the ball. Because really, truly, that's what ends up being a win or a loss. We saw it tonight.
Oh, what a ball game! Our ballpark cam images. Montgomery, Martinez hits the ground ball. Chris Bryant makes the play. The Cubs win the World Series. 8-7, the final score. And joining us now on our MLB Tonight set,
awesome, man.
Your World Series MVP.
Wow.
Ben Zobrist.
Say that again, Greg.
World Series MVP. Ben Zobrist.
You want to put that there? Is it heavy?
I don't know what to say, man.
Man alive.
Nice.
Charm life, my friend.
That is nice.
I do. I'm blessed, man. This is way more than I expected. I can't believe it. I feel like there's so many guys on our team that could have deserved this, and you know, if Anthony Rizzo wasn't as good as he was, I wouldn't have never been in that situation at the end of the game. So, I mean, our team is unbelievable. Every guy from the top to the bottom, you know, we just battle and root for each other, and I can't believe I'm blessed to win this trophy. I mean, just to be out here on this field, be a Chicago Cub, I couldn't say anything more.
Ben, we're sitting here last year, same time. You won a World Series with the Royals. Incredible. So what has the 12-month difference been from Chicago, from Kansas City to now for you?
Well, you know, as soon as we won the World Series last year, I was in free agency, and I was, you know, looking for the next challenge, the next opportunity. And you know, I grew up in Illinois, so knowing Joe and Davey so well, knowing that they were in Chicago, and the opportunity to try to help win this elusive championship that's been 108 years, you know, that was enough for me to really, really want to be a Chicago Cub. I told Theo that, and I said, I want to help you guys get those, you know, that seven more wins than they had last year. And
you know that song sticks
we were
in
able
your
to do
head,
it,
man. That Go Cubs go.
It sure does.
Yeah.
These fans are unbelievable.
He changed the gunner. It's
awesome. They've waited a long time. They deserve this.
Hey, how special? I mean, you know, Harold alluded to the fact you were doing this last year, you know, with Kansas City, but watching your team from afar and the collection of the guys from a lot of young, talented players to what you brought to the table, and you come through big, and I hear you. It's a disbursement of everybody doing what they do as a team, but what's the special, unique thing about this year that may have been different from last year?
Well, it's just the different personalities, I think. But, you know, I think David Ross is the guy that comes to mind. I mean, he is the consummate leader in the clubhouse. You can't get a better leader than that guy. And, you know, I think everybody, knowing that this was his last go-around, we wanted to win it for him so badly. And to see what he did tonight in Game 7 of the World Series on his last ever baseball game, carried off the field. I mean, this guy is unbelievable. He deserves every bit of it.
That's the way to end that interview.
I should probably give the card to him. I won't, though.
You said that on TV. We'll erase it for the air. Hey, man, have you ever played in a more emotional baseball game in your life?
I don't think so. Definitely not. I mean, my stomach was churning all game long, and you never felt like the lead was safe, even though we played really well early in the game. You know, they're a great team over there. You know, they really battled, and when they came back and tied the game in the 8th, man, you could just feel our team. You know, we had to really muster up a lot of courage going into the 9th and the 10th. And when we had that little delay, we had a little team meeting down in the weight room, and guys just said, hey, listen, we're the best team, and we're going to pull this thing out. You know, let's keep believing in each other, keep going out there and playing for each other, and we're gonna do this.
Whose idea was that to have the team meeting?
Jason Hayward. I mean, I can't say enough about that guy either. I mean, he's an unbelievable teammate. You know, he all year long has been so consistent. He's been, you know, he's obviously had a tough year, but the way that he showed up every day for his teammates, and in that moment, calling that team meeting and saying some words to the team that really needed to be said. I mean, that's an ultimate leader right there.
Hey, we talk often about slowing the game down, and the hit that you got there in the 10th. I mean, what was the pitch? What did you do? What were you looking for?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a cutter, which he throws mostly really hard, four-seam cut. It's a tough pitch to hit, and you know, I was just battling. I was doing whatever I could to put a decent swing on the ball. And man, it was right in the spot I wanted it to be in, and I slapped it down the line. You know, really up to that point in the at bat, I really wasn't comfortable at all. I think it probably was obvious.
You fouled one off similar to that, and then he came back with it.
Yeah, well, that one I fouled off to their dugout was a bad pitch.
Is that an emergency?
And it was an emergency hack. There's no doubt. But you know, thankfully I got something to handle that last one.
What was the collective vibe on your team when Rajai Davis hit that home run to tie it?
Oof. That's kind of the feeling. Everybody, you know, just. Are you kidding me? How does this happen?
Right.
You know, and look at, he's choked up like 4 inches on the bat.
Right?
Yeah.
And hits it right into the face of the camera. Hats off to the camera guy, whoever that was who followed the ball right into the lens.
You had a great view of that.
No, what?
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Watch here, and he gets out of the way at the very end. This hits the cap.
I mean, it's unbelievable. That game 7, I mean, that obviously it's historical for the Cubs just to win this game, but you know, that game goes down in history as one of the best ever Game 7 of the World Series.
Hey, Ben, when Joe Maddon came here to manage, they were still building this thing a couple years ago, and the first thing he said was, we're talking playoffs and World Series. He almost changed the whole mindset immediately in a press conference. Is that what he exuded most of the year and all the time on you guys? That our goal is to win the whole thing.
Well, Joe's confidence has always been sky high, and he's extremely positive. And so if he doesn't believe it, he knows his players aren't going to believe it. And every day from day one, from back in the Tampa Bay days when we were losing 100 games in a year, he was positive and he believed in the players. And he brought that over to Chicago right away and said, we're going to do this. It's going to happen. And, you know, I mean, sure enough, we were able to do it.
Not a bad idea, not a bad decision. Huh? I know in the last winter at the winter meetings, you had a few offers out there. You picked the right one.
Oh, man, I couldn't be more blessed to be in this moment. I thank God for every opportunity I've gotten, and I'm just incredibly blessed, man. I don't deserve it any more than anybody else, and can't believe I get to do it. Here's Joe.
There he is.
We got a new guest.
This is my wife, Jay.
Yeah, we know your wife. How you doing? Good
well
to
done,
see you.
Ben. Thank you. Ben, thank you so much. Do we get you?
Ben,
Want to keep
thanks.
that?
My wife, Jay. This is Jay.
Ben, thanks, buddy. Thank you. Congrats, bro.
Again,
Joe, here you go.
It's the World Series MVP. Mike, you don't want to forget the trophy.
Who's
Joe Maddon?
My wife, Jay.
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 Hi.
Al.
Let's get cozy.
Great to see you all.
Hey, congrats, Joe.
Wow. I could throw in BP. I threw BP to you at this field in 1994.
I know.
I did, right here.
That?
That's like the first time I got called up. It's an incredible moment, isn't it?
Oh,
I don't know what to say, honestly. This is one of those things you got to let sink in a little bit. You got to let it marinate a little bit because, of course, you want it to happen, but when it does happen, it's indescribable.
All right, so your decision to pull a starting pitcher.
Yeah,
come on up, big
so
boy.
you get into we got Chris here.
Chris, how you doing?
What was the thought process into how you looked out the way today played out with Hendricks pitching the way he did, score differential, all of that?
Well, it's his third time through the batting order. It kind of gets a little bit more iffy at that point. John Lester was feeling really good today, and actually, save for a slow roller and a wild pitch, he did a great job.
What's up, Dave?
The big thing was to go from Kyle to John to Chappie, and it worked out. We just gave up the home run late.
Real quick.
We're gonna let you get moving. Let me ask you this.
Your team.
Hold on.
When David Ross
he's got him
hit a
over
home
the
run, when this guy went yard in the World Series, what were you guys? The explosion.
I mean, you almost expect it. It's his last game ever. for him to go out like that, a bang like this, winning the World Series, I couldn't be happy. Yeah, one more year, please.
I'm not. You can't go out any better than this. You can't script it. This has been amazing. The journey these guys took me on. This whole group from top to bottom. We've been talking about it for 2 years, and they're so resilient. They never give up. I'm so blessed to be here and to be a part of this journey. These guys are amazing.
Hey, you played for a lot of managers. Tell us about Joe.
Top notch human being. Top notch. The best. Yes, he puts up with my stuff and all the young guys, and he can relate to everybody.
Hey, to balance all that crap out is not easy, I promise you.
I'm an ornery old man, I promise you that.
That's right.
Your career's now over.
It is. Well, there's a lot of celebrating left to do. No more baseball.
Okay,
no more at bats.
You said earlier this year you're tired of celebrating.
I'm so tired.
I've celebrated out. You said all year.
I'm exhausted. My voice already losing. It's unbelievable.
Well, now that it's over, was this the most emotional baseball game you've ever played in?
By far. I think even with all the experience I have and the back and forth and, that home run. What's cool is that home run by Rajay, and then these guys continue to fight, right? Never giving up.
You were catching on that pitch.
Yeah, what was I doing? Bad pitch call. Terrible pitch call by me. Terrible. What am I doing?
Defensive coordinating. Bad
defensive coordinating.
Chris, you see the ball rolling off the bat of Martinez. Are you thinking the World Series? I got to end the World Series. A never-ending game. What's going through your mind as you charge the ball?
I mean, I knew he was fast. I figured I had to get rid of it quick. But honestly, this game was so long, a rain delay. I mean, I think it was a good thing that I wasn't thinking, like, I got to do this. It's the World Series. I got to make this play. I kind of just took it as it was, and I was fortunate enough to make a good throw.
Hey, did you kind of slip on that? I thought your foot slipped underneath it.
I did.
I saw it going in the stands. I'm like, no!
I mean, it was right at Riz's head. I mean, but yeah, I slipped a little bit, but.
Hey, Joe, so what's the dress code?
We don't have one. By the way, the last two times the Cubs won the World Series, 1908, 1907, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
8-7.
Oh, look at you. Hey, when you signed
all this synchronicity.
When you signed your deal with the Cubs, and you knew where you were going, you were with Tampa Bay, lower payroll, et cetera, you're going to Chicago. Did you envision it being this quick?
No. I thought we'd get to the playoffs, but last year we almost got here and this year we did. Again, listen. I get way too much credit. This goes to the organization, to Theo, to Jed, scouting and development. They're the guys that got these kids together, not me. I mean, this is one of the
Hey, but I'll tell you what,
late to the party.
Joe, I did bring up earlier the fact that when you went here and you had your press conference the first day, and you came in and everybody's like, all right, we got Joe Maddon. You went, look, we're going to the playoffs and the World Series. Theo was like, whoa, hold on.
Slow down, brother.
Slow down. But you got to give that vision to your team.
Why would you ever not?
Yeah.
That's what I don't get. I mean, of course there's going to be times I wanted the Devil Rays in 2006-07. Pragmatically, of course we weren't going to do that, and I didn't really pop off a whole lot then. But when you come to this group right now under this situation in that ballpark with that fan base in that city, it's different, man.
Yeah.
Entirely different with the resources that we have. And then you look at the roster and the kids and the ceiling of all these guys is incredible. So, yeah, I'm going to pop off here, but I wasn't going to pop off there my first year.
I'll tell you what, Mother Nature's celebrating right
Perfect.
now.
Perfect timing. Hey, always good to see you, boys. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Joe
Maddon.
Go, my man.
Good to see you, man.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Go enjoy it.
Congratulations.
Try to keep your hair dry.
The manager of the world champion Chicago Cubs. Sounds great. Congratulations,
See ya.
my friend.
All right, buddy.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah. We have a Bank of America on deck alert. Much more on this unforgettable Game 7 of a classic World Series. The Cubs come back down 3-1 to win Game 7, 8-7. Much more from Cleveland when we come back on MLB Tonight.
MLB Tonight is presented by Evan Williams Bourbon. Seriously good bourbon, straight from Kentucky. Proud sponsor of the 2016 World Series.
If time is a measure of how good something is, then Evan Williams Bourbon has something really good going. Seriously good. Since 1783, Evan Williams has proven one thing, that a good bourbon is a smooth bourbon. Many years and many barrels later, people are still reaching for the smoothness of Evan Williams. That means something, doesn't it? Evan Williams, seriously good bourbon. And for more of a good thing, try the smooth flavor of Evan Williams Honey.
Hey guys. Hey. Oh, is this the new boyfriend? Yes. We haven't met yet. You're the sweetest. Yes. Do you want to hold him?
Hold my baby, man.
So easy to dip, so hard to put down. Rolled chicken tacos. Tasty shredded chicken all rolled up with your choice of dips. Back at Taco Bell.
Constipated? Trust #1 doctor-recommended Dulcolax. Use Dulcolax tablets for gentle overnight relief, suppositories for relief in minutes, and stool softeners for comfortable relief of hard stools. Dulcolax, designed for dependable relief.
Golden Corral's 7-day shrimp extravaganza just raised the stakes. Every day at dinner, enjoy new Founder sirloin and non-stop shrimp. Plus it up on the weekends with premium shrimp and new garlic herb buttered sirloin. It's non-stop shrimp and steak, all for one low price. Only at Golden Corral.
MLB Tonight, all throughout the offseason, only on MLB Network.
Hi, neighbor. You're selling your action figures. You love those.
Oh, my car needs a new window track, and the dealer wants a fortune. Time for desperate measures.
Don't pay crazy dealer prices when RockAuto.com has all the parts your car will ever need at half the price. Here's your window regulator. Pick the brand, click Add Part. It's easy.
With Rock Auto's low prices, I can fix my car and keep my action figures. And you too, Buster.
Rock Auto. All the parts your car will ever need.
All the parts your car will ever need. Rock Auto.
I won this 55-inch TV for less than $30 on DealDash.com.
I got this $1,200 computer for $100.71.
These aren't actors, they're real people who got real savings at DealDash.com, the fair and honest bidding site. At DealDash.com, you can save up to 99%, but hurry, everything must go.
And shipping is always free.
Visit DealDash.com and start bidding today.
The baseball action continues on MLB Network in the Arizona Fall League. See the next wave of Major League phenoms take the field for the annual Fall Stars game, featuring first-round draft picks, Saturday at 8 Eastern, live on MLB Network.
And welcome to MLB Tonight, presented by Evan Williams Bourbon. Go ahead, sing, people, wow. Sing, people. The fans have retreated to this area where we're slightly covered from tremendous winds, a driving rain. They're soaking wet, but they're obviously thrilled, Dan.
Since 1908, a lot of generations of Cub fans have waited for this night, Brian. A special occasion and the best team in baseball, 103 wins. They are, as you'd say, a superpower.
It is incredible when you see how many people are out there on the field in the stands all around, and you're thinking this was still a Cleveland Indians crowd, but there was a good percentage of Chicago Cub fans here tonight.
Brian, this team, we do the 30 teams in 30 days. This team was one of those teams that had a target on its back. They had the best completed roster, depth, they had quality, and they have the best fans in baseball.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Easy, 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 easy. That's a nice, in full voice, the Chicago Cubs fans. And look, I think because they're down 3-1 and obviously severely tested tonight where it looked like, wow, after all this, we're not winning a championship. 1907, 1908, and nothing. But now, 2016, it almost didn't happen, Dan.
Think about this. Mike Montgomery gets the save. His first big league save comes in Game 7 of the World Series. An acquisition at the July trading deadline that, listen, we know Andrew Miller, we know about Aroldis Chapman. Mike Montgomery was a big part of the Chicago Cubs in that bullpen. Listen, Joe Maddon had confidence in two guys, in my opinion, in that bullpen. Aroldis Chapman and Mike Montgomery.
Again, this was a rebuilding project taken on by Theo Epstein, who was somehow allowed to walk out the door by the Boston Red Sox. This was after they had busted their curse and had won 2 World Series championships. But it took 4 years before they got to that 97-98 win area. This year, 103 wins, the gaudy run differential, and yet tested many times in the playoffs. You have to give a lot of credit to the Indians tonight.
You do, you really. They took down what I thought were the 2 best teams in the American League. The Boston Red Sox, a lot of people thought were the best team in the AL, and I thought the Toronto Blue Jays. This was the starting pitching, depleted Indians team that pushed the Cubs to extra innings in Game 7.
You wonder, what are they going to do after this? They've been waiting so long, but, well, they'll enjoy tonight.
Listen. Brian?
Just enjoy tonight. How about that?
I think this organization right now, we could be looking at what the Yankees were in the early to mid-90s. Their minor league system is the envy of baseball. Their baseball operations people are the best in the business. There were a lot of empty seats a couple of years ago down the third and first base lines at Wrigley Field in August and September. No longer. This is the toughest ticket in sports, and I think they're going to be good for a while.
It really was such a once-in-a-lifetime atmosphere to go see a World Series, that whole World Series weekend with the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field, and it's a rejuvenated franchise, and now they are World Series champions. Let's go back to the very start as the celebration has come up here behind us after the rain has driven everybody off the field. We go back to, I believe we're going to pick up the highlight here in a moment. Oh, we don't have it here right now. All right, we'll keep it right here. Well, I think we have a shot of Wrigley Field. That's what it looks like, Dan, in Chicago right now.
Brian, the corner of Clark and Addison, they've done some major renovations. It's a very player-friendly place right now. It's the place to be, and I think the Chicago Cubs right now are at the top of the food chain. Great inventory of minor league players. They have money. It's a destination where players want to go, and I think, Brian, they're going to be good for a while.
This was part of American sports history, really, the long, long wait for the Chicago Cubs, especially given that they had so many iconic players through the decades. Ernie Banks, Ron Santo, Billy Williams, Fergie Jenkins, these great Hall of Famers. But it shows you just how difficult it is in baseball to win a World Series. Think about it, 1907, 1908, 2016. It was that long a wait.
And think about this, Brian. In the 7th inning of this game, when it was 6-3, and John Lester was going out for the 7th inning, this game was all but over, right? All of a sudden, the Indians, the big home run by Rajai Davis, you touched on it. I thought they had a chance to deliver the knockout blow in the bottom of the 9th inning with a runner on. They missed their opportunity. The rains came. The Cubs regrouped, and I think what they did, they flexed their muscles. They're a good team.
I tell you, they travel well, that's for sure. These guys come out here. They're down 3-1. They barely win that classic, and they get Game 5 to get to 6-7 here. Even with Corey Kluber there on the hill, you had to think, even the short rest, it was really formidable to get through the Indians back-to-back games here at home.
It was, Brian, and I think when you look at it, if you're the Cubs, you never want to be down 3-1. But I think if you were the Chicago Cubs, they were the most equipped team in baseball history, down 3-1, when you have John Lester, Jake Arrieta, and Kyle Hendricks. Not a lot of teams can go 1-2-3, down 3-1, and feel like if we get into a Game 7, we have a shot.
You know what was amazing? David Ross coming in, and I always wonder, 39-year-old catcher coming in, obviously he had those disasters in the first half inning on some of the more exciting plays we've seen in World Series play in a long time, but then getting thrown into that spotlight before he hit the home run, that had to be very unnerving.
You know what, and listen, he knew this was going to be his last game too. He's kind of been John Lester's personal caddy, so to speak. He's come up big in big times for the Chicago Cubs in 2016. He's one of those guys, Brian, he's probably not an everyday player. He's one of those guys, he's an extra guy, but he's a very valuable guy in the locker room that a team like the Cubs can afford to pay a guy like that to carry him on their roster.
I tell you what, before we go, you guys sounded great. It's been a pleasure to be around the Chicago Cubs fans all through this World Series. Congratulations to the American League champion Indians, and of course, to the World Series champion Chicago Cubs. When we come back, we will get to the highlights again here for Game 7, a classic Game 7, an all-time great performance. Greg and the boys will be back on the field if the rains abate. All right, folks, sing it.
Hey, Chicago, what do you say? Cubs are going over today.
When you freeze something,
it's for later.
but how much later?
There's no way to be sure.
But Wendy's is sure that if you want a juicy, delicious hamburger right now, it should be made with fresh, never frozen beef, unlike some other guys. So that's what's in every single hamburger Wendy's serves, and the doubles and the triples. Because at Wendy's, fresh never gets old.
Forget everything you think you know. Discover a world of possibility with one blade from Philips Norelco, the blade for beards, and be your best you. One blade from Philips Norelco. See Marvel's Doctor Strange in theaters November 4th.
So why the Marines?
Go out there and take it! Because this is the land that I love, the country I'm honored to serve.
Welcome to Stouffer's Fit Kitchen. Prime cuts of meat, 25 grams of protein, and savory mouth-watering sides. It's the perfect balance of delicious and nutritious, making it just the right fit for you. Stouffer's Fit Kitchen meals. This is fit.
Gray skies are gonna clear up. Put on a happy face. Brush off the clouds and cheer up. Put on a happy face. Spread sunshine all over the place. And put on a happy face.
Wouldn't you rather have a big DQ chicken strip basket instead of those little nuggets?
Wow, that's a big meal.
You got a big appetite.
Hey, I'm a big man.
You are big.
I'm big enough to lift this man.
You don't have to do that.
Yes, we do.
Go big with the DQ Chicken Strip Basket. Now just $4.99.
The baseball action continues on MLB Network in the Arizona Fall League. See the next wave of Major League phenoms take the field for the annual Fall Stars game, featuring first-round draft picks, Saturday at 8 Eastern, live on MLB Network.
Welcome back to MLB Tonight from the World Series, presented by Evan Williams Bourbon. The Chicago Cubs party rolls on, and so does our show from a different location, because the weather here in Cleveland got crazy, so we booked it up here to our side set.
The weather was mad that the Indians lost. Said, you're not celebrating on our field. Send us up here.
You know what? This is pretty cool, man. Listen to these people.
Not bad at all. Hey, should we show them the highlights of Game 7 of the World Series?
Yeah.
One of the best Game 7s we've ever seen. Hey, former Indian Jim Thome threw out the first pitch of the game. Looks like he can still rake.
Yeah, nice little lob there. David Ross taking out the lineup card. Last game is going to be in. That was pretty cool by Joe Maddon.
Corey Kluber on the hill is yet to allow a run at home this postseason. Dexter Fowler hoping to change that early.
Fowler hits a fly ball to deep center field. Back goes Davis. Back near the center field fence. At the wall. And that ball is a home run. Home run, Dexter Fowler. Would you believe a leadoff home run by Dexter Fowler?
He said, as Dexter goes, so do they. I'll tell you what, this is such a big home run to get the night started on putting 1 point on the board early. Let you relax a little bit.
Uh-oh, look at this, Al.
Here are the boys coming out to the pen.
They're mingling. How about that?
Hey, fraternizing.
We go to the third. Kyle Hendricks with 2 scoreless, but the Indians threatened with a runner on third for Carlos Santana. That's a nice swing.
Tell you, it was interesting. They had the infield drawn in right there with a 1-0 lead. If Rizzo's back, maybe he has that ball. LeBron liked it anyway.
He did. Brings up Jason Kipnis. Grounded to short. They initially say he's out, Al.
Well, I'll tell you what, you see Terry Francona, you see right here, it wasn't on the transfer. Baez never got a full handle on it. They made the right call.
He's got to catch that ball with the glove. Did you see the play Russell made to catch that grounder?
It's a bad hop. This one to left. Zobrist makes the catch for the second out. Again, still tied at 1. And this line drive, and Hendricks escapes. So we go to the top of the 4th with runners in the corners. Addison Russell at the plate. Skies this one to center. I'm thinking there's no way they're going to get run in.
Well, you got to challenge. I knew when it was between Rajay and Coco, they were going to challenge, and the challenge paid off for Chris Bryant.
Not very far out there, Greg. I agree with you. That wasn't a deep fly ball.
Great slides. Now runners on second for Wilson Contreras, and this one to center field. Back. And Rajay can't get there in time.
Tell you what, it was so warm tonight. The ball was just jumping. You see how Davis went after it and continued to carry? That's what happens in a hot night.
Uh-oh.
Let's talk about a hot night.
Javi Baez, ambush out.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, watching Corey Kluber, he's been excellent reason why the Indians are where they are in this Game 7, but he left a lot of balls up. Javi Baez deposited into his seats.
Tell you what, they asked a lot from Corey Kluber and also from Andrew Miller.
Yeah, a single by Fowler. Then it's Schwarber, 6-4, 3-double play. Bases now empty. Now, after a walk to put Bryant on first, Anthony Rizzo comes to the plate.
I can't control myself. I'm trying my best.
It's understandably so, buddy.
I'm emotional.
I hear you.
I'm an emotional wreck.
Well, it's only going to get worse. Just continue to breathe. That's all you can do, buddy.
You know what he said?
I don't think he looked that nervous. I didn't think he looked nervous at all. What do you guys think?
Anytime you got him saying, continue to breathe, calm down, slow it down.
I mean, it's a knockout punch, 5-1. It's 5-1, right? Bottom 5, Hendricks removed from the game after a walk for Lester, but that wasn't the scenario Maddon had in mind.
John's available. You're right. I don't want to put him into a dirty inning. I don't think that'd be appropriate, but being that it's on his regular workout day, he's probably got a solid 2 in him.
Okay.
I thought it was a little early, Al.
And I was surprised with the run. I would think he'd have had a clean inning.
He doesn't get off the mound here, Al, at all.
No, that was clearly the pitcher's ball. You see David Ross coming out and throwing that ball away.
So runners move to second and third, and then a wild pitch gets away. Ross can't find it. 1 run scores. Harold, here comes Kipnis.
What a play. I love this play. All the way from second base, hustling the whole way, coming around strong. It's a big run.
Then the strikeout, but now for the Indians score 2 and wake up the crowd.
They're
we go to the
back
6th.
in it.
Miller's still on, facing Ross in his last major league game ever.
And Ross sends a high drive to center field. Davis fielding for the wall, and it's gone! The guy they call Grandpa Rossi. Quite a farewell act.
Amazing for David Ross, off such a great pitcher, and what Andrew Miller did for the Indians.
As for what Lester did for the Cubs, Al, were you impressed?
I was. You know what? You settled down, and I had a feeling that we were going to see John Lester. And once that little first inning, little bugaboo, throwing the ball around, he did settle down. Huge 3 innings.
To the 8th, Cody Allen, who relieved Miller in the 7th, back out for another inning. Russell pops this one up. Napoli has it. So the Indians still in this game. Bottom 8 with Aroldis Chapman up in the bullpen. Lester back out for the frame. 2 outs. Ramirez, ground ball, and almost
just escapes. I like the fact Lester went back out there. I thought it was going to be a little bit too long for Chapman. Here he comes now to see if he can shut her down.
Brandon Geyer. Great at bat in the gap. So the Indians getting some momentum for Rajai Davis, who would dig in and do this.
Davis to left and will hit. Oh my! It's gone! Santa Maria!
You should see the celebration out of the Indians' third base dugout. Rajai Davis, a bullet, two-run homer. We are tied at 6.
Oh, what a Game 7 home run that was.
That's what made it such a great game. It did.
Shaw comes in, and this ball gets away. We're in the top of the 9th, and Jason Hayward standing on third with 1 out.
That ends up being a big stolen base. That ball kicked on the grass. But here, they try to safety squeeze with 2 strikes on a full count with Baez. Doesn't get it down. And then what a great play by Lindor.
doubt.
Pressure on, run's going to score, makes the play.
Unbelievable. Javi Baez is bunting with a 3-2 count, runner at third. Didn't get it.
Bottom 9, Chapman back on the hill for another inning, 2 outs. Lindor at the plate. Inning over. Chapman now with 137 pitches thrown in the World Series, setting a record, passing Andrew Miller, who passed our very own Al Leiter.
Oh, man. See ya, Al.
High pitch count. Shocker.
Hey, look at
And
this.
the Rains came. That's why the rain came, Al. He knew, Greg, Al knew his numbers were getting broken right there, so the rains came.
A
Freeze my record.
17-minute delay. So Schwarber starts in the 10th. He looked hitterish from the get-go.
How about that? Kyle Schwarber with 3 knocks. Amazing. What a hitter.
That's still one of the most amazing stories to me of this whole series.
Albert Elmore Jr. came into pinch run with 2 on, 1 out. Elmore being waved around. Ben Zobrist comes through, and the Cubs take the lead 7-6.
I thought it was interesting. He was talking about that's where I wanted the ball on the cutter when he's talking with us earlier.
After an intentional walk to load the bases, Miguel Montero, the 3rd catcher for the Cubs with an RBI in this game.
Incredible. 3rd catcher coming at Montero, going the other way, and a cutter in on his hands. Nice piece of hitting.
I don't think we'll see that again. 3 catchers with an RBI in the same game.
No way. Trevor Bauer comes in with 1 out, bases loaded, gets a punch out of Jason Hayward, and then this fly ball. Baez can't drive in a run. Bring on Carl Edwards Jr. And I got to tell you, Al, early on it looked good, but with Geyer at second, Rajai strikes again.
Yeah, he did. He stayed on it nicely off Edwards, a great approach. Look at that 98-mile-an-hour fastball up the middle.
So a pitching change would happen again. Mike Montgomery on the hill facing Michael Martinez with 2 outs.
This is going to be a tough play. Bryant, the Cubs win the World Series. It's over, and the Cubs have finally won it all.
The Chicago Cubs waited 108 years to celebrate a game like this, an unforgettable ball game. 8-7 in 10 innings. Aroldis Chapman is the winning pitcher. Ben Zobrist, your World Series MVP. The Indians fought as hard as they could, but they fall in extras at home in Game 7. We have another Bank of America on deck to learn much more from Progressive Field. Harold and Al are going to break down the biggest moments for the World Series champion Chicago Cubs. That's next from Cleveland.
On Deck Alerts are presented by Bank of America. Life's better when we're connected.
Hey guys. Hey. Oh, is this the new boyfriend?
Yes. We haven't met yet. You're the sweetest. Yes. Do you want to hold him?
Hold my baby, man.
So easy to dip, so hard to put down. Rolled chicken tacos. Tasty shredded chicken all rolled up with your choice of dips. Back at Taco Bell.
How's it going? Hi. Today we're going to be comparing the roll-formed high-strength steel bed of the Chevy Silverado to the aluminum bed of this competitor's truck. Awesome. All right, let him drop. Let's see how the aluminum bed of this truck held up.
Oh, wow. That's a good-sized puncture. That's all the way through, for sure. Full-on crack here. If you're aluminum now, you're gonna go, ooh.
Let's check out the Silverado's steel bed.
Wow. Yeah, a couple dents. I'd expect more dents. Chevy clearly held up better than the Ford.
So why the Marines?
Go out there and take it!
Because this is the land that I love, the country I'm honored to serve.
Said I'm wild, said I'm wild, set them free. You cannot lose, so go ahead, he set them free.
Golden Corral's 7-day shrimp extravaganza just raised the stakes. Every day at dinner, enjoy new Founder sirloin and non-stop shrimp. Plus it up on the weekends with premium shrimp and new garlic herb buttered sirloin. It's non-stop shrimp and steak, all for one low price. Only at Golden Corral.
Constipated? Trust #1 doctor recommended Dulcolax. Use Dulcolax tablets for gentle overnight relief, suppositories for relief in minutes, and stool softeners for comfortable relief of hard stools. Dulcolax, designed for dependable relief.
Today, we honor the craftsmen behind the finest beer with the finest beer cheese on a burger. The Beer Cheese Bacon Burger with grass-fed beef at Hardee's and Carl's Jr.
Welcome back to MLB Tonight from the World Series, presented by Evan Williams Bourbon, the front office of the Chicago Cubs, led by their president, Theo Epstein, taking a team photo. The front office team photo as he starts to dance in the middle. Theo Epstein is a rock star.
Little jig.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. It's Greg with Harold and Al. A historic night in Major League Baseball. The Chicago Cubs have won the World Series, winning Game 7, 8-7 in 10 innings. I don't know why, Harold, but I feel like this could be the beginning of a dynasty.
Well, you know, the last dynasty was the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan, right? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of compare these guys to the dynasty.
Yes.
Are they the newest dynasty? Well, let's see what we got. All right, we got to break it down. You ready for this, Greg? Because actually, I got to give Greg some credit, Al. He gave me the idea. Look, all right, here's the new champions in Chicago. But we got to go back because really it was MJ's Bulls that kind of set the trend there for winning. Feel it, MJ. All right. Let's go through it. Here we go, fellas. Oh, Phil Jackson, the Zen master. Well, Joe Maddon's just like him, really. Tries to stay calm and cool. Doesn't matter what's going on. He had a cup of coffee, just chilling, keeping the guys loose. Don't worry about it. He has that Zen type quality about him. Oh, defense leads the offense. You got that two-way guy, that star. That's Scottie Pippen. Well, that's Chris Bryant. Go ahead and pick it and also swing the bat. A little defense and a little offense. And I'll tell you what, he's an all-star for many, many years to come. All right? He may be Cooperstown bound. Oh, the specialist. The guy that's got to do one thing for you. I want Schwarber to hit. And if Steve Kerr hit threes, this guy swings the bat. That's the specialist. Are you liking this so far? This is a brains, okay? You got Ron Harper and you got Zobrist. Look, Zobrist is a guy, he's got to do whatever he can. Play all over the field, do everything, switch hit, play every position. He's kind of that brains of the operation. Then you got the defensive specialist and the enforcer, all right? You got a little both. Your Dennis Rodman can't be one person, it had to be two, right? So you got Hayward playing the D, and then you got the enforcer. Yeah, come on, you want some of this? You want some of this? Rizzo, the enforcer. Okay, and then you got the mentor. Well, John Sally was the old man of the Bulls, and then you got David Ross. Yeah, Grandpa Ross. Guys, it's okay. I've been here before. You know, who knows? Then you got the baby face. Look, you got to have B.J. Armstrong, and don't tell me that my man Addison Russell doesn't have the baby face
You are
like
on
B.J.
the money.
Armstrong. All right, so hey, you want to talk about this? Hold it, you got to have the closer. There's only one closer. That was MJ, right? So you're going to run Chapman out there to shut her down. Now look, he messed up my tape tonight because I did this a little early. I couldn't change it, but he's the guy to close it. But nobody touches MJ. But that's a kind of look
That
at
is
what we got going
awesome
forward.
tape, bro.
What do you say?
They won it today. They did win it today. It's great. Al. It's almost bigger than even Chicago. It's almost bigger than Chicago that the Cubs won the World Series. People all over this country are captivated by this.
No question. And I think as we talk about this story, and this has been an amazing World Series and an amazing night, you see the Cub fans behind. This goes back to me, guys. You say it's more than Chicago. I grew up in New Jersey, and I remember the WGN, and I do believe that Superstation, Harry Carey coming over, doing his fun thing. I remember as a kid, guys, watching this scene back once upon a time, saying, wow, that looks like fun. The lovable losers. And boy, they came close a few times. And you think about how close they were in 1984, losing to the Padres. Padres eventually lost to the Tigers in 84. And who could forget here in 89 when they lost to the Giants? Giants go on and lose to the A's. And you think about that World Series. Then they fast forward when Dusty Baker shows up. And wow, I mean, oh my gosh, I was here for this. The Bartman play in 2003, they were literally outs away from getting to the World Series, and that play there. So many moments for these fans to remember and endure the 108 years and the Marlins do the thing. But that family right there, Mr. Tom Ricketts, they came on and bought the team in 2009. Look, I mean, this is a man's man. It's a guy, a man of the people. He really is. You see Ryan Dempster with him. He wanted to turn this team into a world champion. He wanted to keep Wrigley. What happens? Theo Epstein comes in October 2011, and guess what? Joe Maddon, and it's the start of this, what I think is going to be a little mini dynasty. I really do. The pieces are in place. They have an owner that allowed Theo to break it all down and to start over, and they have this now. This is a franchise moving forward that's going to win big time.
You know, Al, when you're talking about WGN, I remember being in A-ball in Wisconsin and turning the TV on and went, what is this?
Right.
It was the first time I saw a Cub game on TV. It was the coolest thing ever.
This is a team loaded with young talent, but also terrific veterans that all paid off. None bigger than the guy who gripped the moment, presented by Falcon Tires, and that is Ben Zobrist. They paid him over $50 million for the life of his contract to come to the Chicago Cubs, and the super utility, everyday star came through in the biggest of ways to give the Cubs the lead, and they never turned back in the 10th. Ben Zobrist, your World Series MVP. Still ahead on MLB Tonight. I mean, they're the dynamic duo. Chris Bryant to Anthony Rizzo. How apropos that that's how this World Series ended. More on them next.
Falcon Tires, the official tire of Major League Baseball, is bringing you the game's most clutch performances. See more of the players who grip the moment at MLB.com/gripthemoment.
There are a few who move toward the sounds of chaos. Forged in the crucible of training, they are the first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are the few, the proud, the Marines.
Hi, gray skies are gonna clear up. Put on a happy face. Brush off the clouds and cheer up. Put on a happy face. Spread sunshine all over the place. And put on a happy face.
Tonight's been great.
Yeah.
You look amazing. You take after your mom. She's hot.
No, Winter, shh. The subtle fragrance of Axe Black.
Hey, guys. Hey. Oh, is this the new boyfriend?
Yes. We haven't met yet. You're the sweetest. Yes. Do you want to hold him?
Hold my baby, man.
So easy to dip, so hard to put down. Rolled chicken tacos. Tasty shredded chicken all rolled up with your choice of dips. Back at Taco Bell.
Constipated? Trust #1 doctor recommended Dulcolax. Use Dulcolax tablets for gentle overnight relief, suppositories for relief in minutes, and stool softeners for comfortable relief of hard stools. Dulcolax, designed for dependable relief.
Today, we honor the craftsmen behind the finest beer with the finest beer cheese on a burger. The Beer Cheese Bacon Burger with grass-fed beef at Hardee's and Carl's Jr.
Statcast is powered by Amazon Web Services.
Oh, it's time for Statcast, powered by Amazon Web Services, and I want to throw it on Chris Bryant, not on a Chris Bryant home run. We've done that a million times. Chris Bryant running the bases. This one in the corner, and he wouldn't stop.
This is what makes him, in my mind, the best player in baseball, because he can do so many things for you. He was flying 19.8 miles per hour. That was on the turn, but the read he got, everything was perfect about that. Like this is a perfect setting.
A mob scene in Chicago. That is a party you would love to be in right now. The Cubs just won the World Series. They just won the World Series thanks in large part to this guy, Harold.
Well, I mean, let's just kind of go through his night in Game 7. Look, we talked about him the other day. First inning, he hits this ball. I'm telling you, beautiful night. I thought this had a shot to get out. This is how he started off swinging the bat. Fourth inning, he just stays with the ball, takes it through the middle, base hit. But here's where he gets dangerous. Most power guys are finished right now. Great, you're on base. But he gets all the way to third, and watch this tag up and go on a short fly ball. You can only do this with a guy that you know that can run. But watch the fundamental slide through the catcher, through the plate. Fundamentally sound. I love the play. Explodes straight through, and he beats the throw. Just all the athleticism for a guy that's 6'5". Then he faces one of the toughest pitchers in the big leagues, takes a pitch. And Greg, this is what we just Statcast. What a jump he got on that steal, right? He's off and running on the steal, gives the third base coach a great read, great angles, and see you later. He's going to score easy on that ball in the corner. Well, I'm not done with it. Okay, now watch him end the game, all right? Because he slips and falls and makes the throw across the diamond. I really enjoy being around this guy and watching him play, but I say this every postseason. There's certain guys, when you watch every day, you see them do something special. He did something special. I know his dynamic duo, these two guys do something every night. They're fun to watch.
They do. What'd you do with all your friends behind us? Where'd they go?
Killed them with the comment.
Listen, as great as this team is, and there's so many different stories, it still is Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo. These two guys, I mean, both the different ways they get there. You remember this little commercial? I think it's cute that these two, you got a great righty-lefty tandem for Joe Maddon in several years ahead. And they are friends. It goes back a long way. Certainly the 2 years ago, you got Bryant, a Rookie of the Year. I mean, my feeling is this, guys. When they go, the team goes. Offensively, they've had some struggles, but when I look at this and the big home run in 6, there's no question you got him on the board. When Rizzo, the combination of having Bryant on base, it lengthens the lineup, no question. I thought Rizzo had some great approaches in 6 and ended up getting a big knock tonight. And then you talk about, what can you say about the all-around player? And I'm with you, Harold. I think Bryant is the type of player. He's a multiple position guy, can play in any way, plays the game right. I think the upside, you talk about uncanny numbers, the year that he had, 292, 39 home runs, 102 RBIs. I mean, it's just really special to watch young, talented players, somebody as special as Bryant, and then to complement it with the big guy in the middle there when Rizzo is right. I mean, I just look at this right here, and I say they are the guys that really make this team go.
Rizzo, Bryant, outstanding. And you know what's great, Al, is that when you look at breaking a curse, it reminds me of the Boston Red Sox, as you see what these guys can do in Game 7. The Red Sox did with a sweep, and it really wasn't dramatic. The Cubs did it in a way none of us will ever forget.
True.
Right?
In so many ways.
It was like you could make a movie about this Game 7 all by itself. Now, the team that loses in this movie, the Cleveland Indians, could not come any closer to winning a World Series? We will hear from the Tribe after the break on MLB Tonight.
MLB Tonight is presented by Evan Williams Bourbon. Seriously good bourbon, straight from Kentucky. Proud sponsor of the 2016 World Series.
Nothing worth having comes easy. You have to get up every morning and put in the work.
Give him another.
Time, effort, commitment. These are your tools. You have to understand that there are no shortcuts here. Whether you're playing in the majors or making seriously good bourbon, you know the greatest achievements in life don't just happen. They're earned.
When you freeze something,
It's for later.
but how much later?
There's no way to be sure.
But Wendy's is sure that if you want a juicy, delicious hamburger right now, it should be made with fresh, never frozen beef, unlike some other guys. So that's what's in every single hamburger Wendy's serves, and the doubles and the triples. Because at Wendy's, fresh never gets old.
Forget everything you think you know. Discover a world of possibility with one blade from Philips Norelco, the blade for beards, and be your best you. One blade from Philips Norelco. See Marvel's Doctor Strange in theaters November 4th.
Welcome to Stouffer's Fit Kitchen. Prime cuts of meat, 25 grams of protein, and savory mouth-watering sides. It's the perfect balance of delicious and nutritious, making it just the right fit for you. Stouffer's Fit Kitchen meals. This is fit.
Whether you're wearing layers, beads, stripes, or cheese. If you bleed blue, black and yellow, purple, or various shades of red, this is your beer.
Wouldn't you rather have a big DQ chicken strip basket instead of those little nuggets?
Wow, that's a big meal.
You got a big appetite.
Hey, I'm a big man.
You are big.
I'm big enough to lift this man.
You don't have to do that.
Yes, we do.
Go big with the DQ Chicken Strip Basket. Now just $4.99.
Hot Stove. Monday morning at 9 on MLB Network.
Attention sleep apnea sufferers. If you use CPAP therapy and have private insurance or a Medicare replacement plan, AmeriCare CPAP may be able to help you get your CPAP supplies at little or no cost to you and free shipping.
Call 800-997-9210.
Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a tax doctor now.
I was on heroin.
I used crack cocaine.
We are the Addiction Network. And if you have a problem with drugs or alcohol, you need to call the number on your screen now.
Call 800-817-7343.
Are you a Christian author with a book ready to share with the world but need a publisher? We'll place your book for sale at all major mainstream booksellers, offering it to millions. We do it all.
Call for your free author submission kit at 800-622-1421.
Mike Montgomery will try to get the final out and give the Cubs the World Series championship. Michael Martinez trying to save the Indians season. The pitch. Swung on a little dribbler toward third, charged by Bryant. Gloves, throws to first. The Cubs have won the World Series for the first time since 1908.
That was an incredible game. I mean, to be a part of. And I talked before the game about being an honor to be in a game like that, but to be associated with those players in that clubhouse, it is an honor. And I just told them that, you know, it's going to hurt. It hurts because we care. But they need to walk with their head held high because they left nothing on the field. And that's all the things we ever asked them to do. They tried until there was nothing left.
It hurts. It hurts that we lost. Of course, I wanted to finish it, but it's just part of the game. I don't know when we're gonna be back, but I truly believe in what we have, and I'm looking forward to it.
It was a real blessing to end up over here and be with these guys, and be with this team and this this staff and just organization in general. But it's going to take a while. It's it's going to hurt for a while.
In Game 7, it was intense the whole way through. Fans were standing the whole time, and
it was just one of those games, probably one of the better games of World Series history, I'd say, just from my knowledge. And happy to be a part of it, but unfortunately on the wrong side of it.
You know, it's their turn. It was their time. Unfortunately for us, you know, their streak is over. You know, ours is still going on.
You know, when you rely on two arms to be perfect to win the World Series, and Corey Kluber and Andrew Miller, it looked like it was gonna work. They were gonna pull it off, but fatigue finally set in on those guys.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it was evident even in the first inning, the first two innings of Kluber's night. They were on everything. Hit every ball hard off him. But the big thing here, looking back at this, to get to where they were at, you know, the Indians, when they fell into the injuries with their pitching staff, most of us wrote them off immediately. What I saw was a team that was so resilient. They played such a great brand of baseball, just aggressive, even stealing the base in the 10th inning and then driving in a run to make the score 8-7 was the style of play that they played all year, and it just was such a fun team to watch. Somebody had to lose. Difficult to see that. I know they're hurting. But, man, they really played a great brand of baseball this summer.
I couldn't agree with you more, Harold. Listen, when you look at this team, I think they did get gypped, no question about it. This series, it was about the Cubs. They had the 3-1 lead. Terry Francona is awesome. Great players manager, good tactician. You know, the best trade deadline trade, no question about it. Andrew Miller almost single-handedly helped. You mentioned about the rotation going down their number 2, 3 starter. You have 2 starters. You have a great pitcher in Kluber, who's a Cy Young candidate. You got an all-star, superstar in the makings as a shortstop. You know, their pen's going to be together. It's really amazing. But their best player goes down to Michael Brantley.
Right.
So, like, there were so many things to say, okay, when's it going to fall? You know, where are the Tigers? Okay, what's Kansas City doing? They should be awfully proud of what they've done. I know they're disappointed. When you're up 3-1, there's nothing but, gosh, we were 1 win away. And we had 2 games back, 6 and 7, and we weren't able to get one done.
You always see guys that jump out at you, and Jason Kipnis played phenomenal in this series, and Perez all of a sudden made a name for himself. We knew about Lindor, but I thought Kipnis and Perez really shined great for themselves.
At the end of the day, they gave us a classic World Series. And for more on this Game 7 and a historic season in Chicago, the Cubs general manager Jed Hoyer joins us now on MLB Tonight. Jed, congratulations, man.
Hey, thank you guys. I heard the call for the first time, and
oh, you did?
I can't wait to watch it. I ran right down to the clubhouse and hadn't seen it, and hearing the call is pretty amazing, and it kind of made it sink in a little bit.
Now, when you went to the Cubs, you probably dreamt of a moment like this. Did it exceed expectations?
Yeah, I dreamt of a moment that was a little bit smoother than that. Man, that game was unbelievable. The range of emotions was incredible, and I'll give our guys credit. You know, they never quit. You know, despite the fact that the momentum was sort of pinned on their side, they kept fighting and had great at bats in the 10th. And then, you know, we hung on. And I heard what you guys were saying about the Indians, and I will say that they're an unbelievable team. They kept fighting the whole time, and you know, the beauty of this whole series, you had 2 groups of players that never quit, that never give up, that really like each other. And I think that really showed this entire series. And, you know, it's a shame one team had to lose, but I think both these teams gave a heck of a show to the fans, and I think this whole thing was great for baseball.
Hey, Jed, it's Harold here. I got to ask you this. I talked with Joe early on, and I just thought back to his press conference when you guys hired him, and he was sitting there saying, forget that, we're talking postseason World Series. And it was almost like you and Theo looked at each other like, uh-oh, what's he doing? You know, but he jump-started this whole thing a little bit, maybe ahead of schedule, maybe not. That's your question. Was he ahead of schedule or was he not?
Yeah, I think the 2 things that really jump-started us was John Lester believing in us and signing with us. You know, we won 73 games the year before. He signed with us and believed in us, and that meant a lot. And then I also think Joe was really big for us. I mean, he gave us a belief in ourselves and the coaching staff. And we're not here tonight without Joe Maddon and John Lester. And both those guys took a leap of faith.
Jed, I'm curious from your perspective, the year as a whole, and this was an amazing World Series, an amazing postseason, but, you know, what were 1 or 2 or 3 things that when you're sitting around with Theo and your guys as to that was the moment that you think it may have turned or the big pickup? Is the obvious Aroldis Chapman, or was there somebody else?
Yeah, Theo's just saying I'm in charge now. I think he's going on a month-long bender, he said. So
this is Al Haig right here, and I'm going on a bender, so wake me up at the winter meetings.
Yeah, there's so many moments, and I think the little small things, mean so much. Jason Hayward's catch last night, he really stopped the big rally. I thought Miguel Montero's at bat tonight after we got the one-run lead. Fighting that ball off, coming off the bench and fighting it into left field. Albert Almora tagging from first and going to second on Brian's sac fly. Those are all the little moments that I think you're going to think back on, this winter that, allowed us to win a title. Cleveland didn't make any mistakes, which I think is part of the beauty. We beat them. They didn't lose it. But those little things contributed to us winning.
Now, you said you heard the final out. You heard the call. But we're hearing you heard the Indians' call of the final out of the World Series. Did you hear the Cubs call? The Cubs radio call?
I haven't heard. I heard the one you guys played.
Okay. Would you like to hear the Cubs radio call right now, Jed?
I would love it. Is it a
here
good one?
It is. Listen closely.
Cubs on the threshold of the greatest victory in the history of the franchise. Everybody in the park is on their feet. A little bouncer slowly toward Bryant. He will glove it and throw to Rizzo. It's in time. And the Chicago Cubs win the World Series. The Cubs have done it.
And if we should lose, we know someday we'll go all the way.
That's amazing to hear. I'm so glad you guys played that for me.
I didn't know if they had the music playing during the game, but they sure did there. Hey, Jed, you got Theo right next to you. What's it like being curse busters now? The movie Ghostbusters, but you guys are breaking some curses, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to get back. My two biggest memories from Boston are the bus ride from the airport to the ballpark and the parade, and I can't wait to experience both those things again. It was incredible, and you do this for the fans, and I can't wait to get back to Chicago and to see what the excitement is like. I'm sure tonight's incredible back home.
Is Theo standing next to you waiting to chat with us?
Yeah, he's waiting for an interview, so I'm getting kicked off here.
So if you want to hand him the mic, go right ahead.
I'll hand him a mic. Here you go. Hold on.
Jed, thanks, bro.
Yes. Jed, thank you so much. From Jed to Theo. Theo
I don't hear
Epstein.
much.
Can you hear Greg Ames?
There we go.
You can't hear us?
I can hear you. I can hear you guys.
Awesome. We saw a photo of you and your front office staff.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are taking a picture. Now, so many people ask you about the players you've assembled, but what about those members of the Cubs that really, in many ways, go overlooked?
Yeah, incredible staff. It's an honor to work with them day in, day out. And what makes a great organization, it's not one person, it's not a handful of people, it's not a 5-year plan, it's hundreds of people in baseball operations. We had 180 people out before Game 3 of the World Series to walk the warning track. All our scouts, all our development people, all the R&D guys, everyone who works for Cubs baseball operations. And what makes a great organization is 1,000 small sacrifices when no one's looking. Driving the extra mile to go get a last look at a player, showing up early to do early work with a minor leaguer to help him work on his weakness. An R&D guy pulling an all-nighter because he's got an idea and he wants to see it through. The coaches working with players, the manager, the togetherness in the front office. So it's just such an honor to get to see that in my position. I get to see those little sacrifices, and that's what makes a great organization. That's why we're where we are. Our players, obviously, first and foremost, and they have the same mentality. They stick together. The whole is greater than some of the parts, and now they're world champions, our players and our front office, and I couldn't be happier for them, more proud of them.
Hey Theo, it's Harold here. I couldn't be happier for you because
Thanks,
you know
man.
what? I didn't know you could dance like that. I've known you a long time. I was watching you getting down right there.
Oh, it hasn't even started yet. As I said, Jed's in charge. I'm going on a bender. I'll see you guys at the winter meetings. I might come back. I might not.
Hey, Theo, it's Al Leiter. I'm curious. Congratulations,
Thank you,
beyond. But read a lot of stories on Mr. Ricketts, and I'm curious of the obvious of what he sold to you to come 5 years ago now. But how special of a guy is this? I read, he had 450 some odd full-time employees fly to Cleveland and put him up. Like, what a special guy he is.
Tom's amazing. The whole Ricketts family is incredible. There's Laura. And I think what makes them unique in this day and age is they run the Cubs like a family. I felt like I joined another family when I came here, but it's not just the suits and the higher ups. They treat everyone like family. Tom goes around to every minor league affiliate, gets to know the people, gets to know the scouts. He shows up at org meetings. What a great symbol, flying everyone out to not just games 6 and 7, games 1 and 2, as well as 6 and 7 here in Cleveland. his family flew in, all of our out-of-town scouting and player development folks, plus their wives, to Chicago, and made them feel special, made them feel a part of it. So they deserve this. It's great to see historic things happen to great people, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
Chicago, known for great restaurants. You will never have to pay for another meal again.
That's what they said in Boston, and then in 04, and then in 05, we started against the Yankees, and David Wells got bombed on opening night, and then we lost the second night, and I was paying full freight from there on. So I figured I got till about April 5th in Chicago.
What have you done for me lately, Theo? Theo Epstein, a baseball icon now in Chicago. Theo, thank you so much,
Thanks,
and congratulations.
Thanks to the fans. This is for you and everyone who ever put on a Cub uniform. You're world champs. Congrats, everybody.
Wow. Awesome. Glass sack right there. Theo Epstein of the Chicago Cubs. From Theo to our hashtag MLB Memory Bank, presented by Bank of America. Watch this.
It's game 2 of the World Series. Maddon trying to close it out. And the 2-2. Swinging a bouncer to short. Throws him out, and the Cubs win.
Please welcome Eddie Vedder.
Indians down to their last strike. Chapman brings it. Swing and a miss. And there will be a game 6. Go, Cubs, go! In Chicago, what do you say? Cubs don't always say. Addison Russell coming up. Grand slam, Addison Russell.
Listen to those Cub fans inside this stadium tonight. Here's the 0-1. This is going to be a tough play. The Cubs win the World Series!
Yeah, I said it before. It's a perfect way for this World Series to end. Bryant to Rizzo, and Wrigleyville is hopping. The Cubs win the World Series. MLB Tonight continues after this.
Every trip to the park can become a story for life. Tell us about the baseball moments you'll never forget. Share your favorite baseball memory with Bank of America using hashtag MLB Memory Bank.
I'm a big fan of my Bank of America mobile banking app. I can manage my accounts, deposit checks, get alerts, pay my bills, and more. I'm a big fan of this team, too. In fact, I tried out to be the mascot. Apparently, I'm overqualified. I do not have an overbite.
Wouldn't you rather have a big DQ chicken strip basket instead of those little nuggets?
Wow, that's a big meal.
You got a big appetite.
Hey, I'm a big man.
You are big.
I'm big enough to lift this man.
You don't have to do that.
Yes, we do.
Go big with the DQ chicken strip basket. Now just $4.99.
Hey guys. Hey. Oh, is this the new boyfriend? Yes. We haven't met yet. You're the sweetest. Yes. Do you want to hold him?
Hold my baby, man.
So easy to dip, so hard to put down. Rolled chicken tacos. Tasty shredded chicken all rolled up with your choice of dips. Back at Taco Bell.
You might feel like there's too many problems in the world, or that, you as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old can't really make a difference.
It's not always about you. It's not just one person. It's a group. It's a team.
Just that simple act is transforming someone else's life.
It's one of the best feelings in the world.
It'll just make you feel so good about yourself.
I'd do anything to convince you just to be a part of this.
Gray skies are gonna clear up. Put on a happy face. Brush off the clouds and cheer up. Put on a happy face. Spread sunshine all over the place. And put on a happy face.
Double meat and cheese, classic.
grilled onions and Thousand Island, classic. All for just $2.49, really classic. The classic double cheeseburger for just $2.49, only at Carl's Jr. and Hardee's.
It's a brand new offseason on MLB Network with an all-star lineup, including baseball's only offseason TV morning show. We live baseball 24/7, 365 on MLB Network.
Welcome back to MLB Tonight from the World Series, presented by Evan Williams Bourbon. Chicago Cubs outlast the Cleveland Indians in 10 innings in Game 7. Final score, Cubs 8, Indians 7. Numerous pitchers were used. Clutch hits left and right.
Let's go! What a start! Dexter Fowler, hello in Game 7.
It's gone! A home run for Baez.
Zobrist, that's a base hit. Cubs will take the lead.
Little tapper to Bryant to win the World Series for the Chicago Cubs.
A month from now, I'm going to be in the grocery store humming, "Go Cubs, go."
That song stays in your head,
For
doesn't
real,
it?
right?
Oh, my
It
goodness.
is in my head. And I feel like for years to come, we're going to be enjoying the bats that Theo and Jed put together that were on display that kept giving the Cubs some cushion and a lead in Game 7.
Well, there were so many things to talk about strategically in this game. But the one thing I want to point out with the Cubs offense is the fact that every time the Indians put a little heat on them, they build it back. Let's kind of walk back to the beginning. Hey, this home run by Dexter Fowler kind of lets your pitcher breathe a little bit. Look, they're on the board. It's 1-0. We're off and flying. Let's go to the 4th inning. Now it's tied to score again. You got first and third situation. This tag up and score is a huge play. Another one off the bat of Addison Russell to center field. He had that center field magic working, but Bryant tagging up. And then they added another one here with Contreras banging the ball off the wall. Run's going to come home. So they got themselves another 2-point cushion on them. So every time here they come again. The Indians came at them. The next thing you know, it's 5-3. They're back in it, and Ross hits the home run. So now it's 6-3. So it just seemed like every time they put it on them, Greg, they continue to just push back. And this is a sign of a great club, to be able to come back and continue to fight regardless of the circumstances. And then Rajai Davis had the big home run. I don't know what they're doing there with the little bump. But Davis hits the homer. We're tied up. They have a team meeting. They go down underneath. They talk about it. They come back. And this is the game winner. Basically, Zobrist breaking the game open. But at that point, they continue to just, I'll say it again, they pushed him away every time they tried to threaten. And that was the biggest difference in this ballgame.
Well, if there was any controversy while we watched Game 7, it was the comeback of the Cleveland Indians against Aroldis Chapman. Leading into Game 7 now, all we talked about was, why was Chapman in Game 6? Why was he? Did you spend his energy, and now his performance in Game 7 could cost you the World Series?
You know, it'd be pretty hard to say that it did with the guy throwing consistently 98, 99 miles an hour. He threw 35 pitches, one ball was over 100. You say, wow, that's still great. Hey, I'll tell you what, you go back to Game 5. Listen, I look at this. I mean, you go to Arrieta's start. He's got 2 outs in the 6th, and here comes Joe. I understand what he said last night. Hey, this is a Game 7 for us, because if we lose and this insurmountable lead that gets made up, we go home. So here comes Chapman, and this was already after Game 5 where he threw 42 pitches. He ended up throwing 20 pitches, kind of opened up. You see the Game 5 start here. Game 5, he had his stuff on, and I get that, bringing him in early. But in Game 6, I wasn't sure when you're thinking about a 5-run lead coming in when he did to help out Montgomery. This double play ball helped him not have to throw as many pitches. And when we were talking about that in the 9th inning, he ended up getting the Rizzo home run, 2 more runs. He had to wait for him. Tonight, you got Lester up, and you realize, okay, this is a little conversation here, figuring out taking guys out kind of prematurely. And this is where Joe Maddon was. And I get it now. They're world champs. And Joe Maddon's a heck of a manager, but he brought in Lester, and I thought this was going to take place. Lester did a heck of a job. He ended up going 3 innings after 4 2/3 of Kyle Hendricks, who had only given up a run. And you look at what Lester was able to do, pop-up ball away from Russell, possibly getting out of the inning. And guess what? Here in the 8th inning, here comes Aroldis. 35 pitches. And I know what you're going to say, Harold. You got the end of the World Series, and this guy's going home, and everybody can rest for 4 months. But I think that there was taxing in this home run right here. Yeah, it was 98. And any baseball player, pitcher out there say, 98, I'd love to have 98. But for Aroldis Chapman, who's consistently 100, 101, 102, 103 even in Game 5, there was a difference in his stuff. I thought some of his fastballs, even though they're registered 98, 99, I looked at you when we were watching, I was like, is that a cutter? Is it a hard slider? So there was effect, didn't matter, got an extra innings, awesome World Series Game 7.
Right.
But there was some effect to the residual, I think, of Game 5 and 6.
When you're gearing up for a 100-mile-an-hour fastball and you get one that's 97, you're feeling pretty good about it. It's almost like he's taking 3 or 4 miles off a fastball. So take a guy, we were talking about this, take somebody who throws 95. All of a sudden now it's 90.
Cody Allen.
Exactly.
Throws 95.
So now he's throwing 90. Thank you very much.
That's
and that's
catching
what
our
it's
attention.
like with Chapman. You know, so there was no doubt, I think, that he did not have the zip on the fastball. The way I went through Rajay Davis's at-bat, and in that at-bat, Rajay did not see a pitch over 100 miles an hour, and he was on everything.
This Game 7 proved that this method of winning in a short series in the postseason works for a postseason series that doesn't go 7 games, and it clearly would not work in the regular season.
On both sides.
On both sides, they experienced that. Hey, when we come back on MLB Tonight, a treat for you. There are lifelong Cub fans that were waiting for this moment, including Bill Murray. We will hear from Bill Murray after the break on MLB Tonight. I'm not kidding you. We will hear from him. That's next.
MLB Tonight is presented by Evan Williams Bourbon. Seriously good bourbon, straight from Kentucky. Proud sponsor of the 2016 World Series.
Nothing worth having comes easy. You have to get up every morning and put in the work. Time, effort, commitment. These are your tools. You have to understand that there are no shortcuts here. Whether you're playing in the majors or making seriously good bourbon, you know the greatest achievements in life don't just happen. They're earned.
Constipated? Trust #1 doctor-recommended Dulcolax. Use Dulcolax tablets for gentle overnight relief, suppositories for relief in minutes, and stool softeners for comfortable relief of hard stools. Dulcolax, designed for dependable relief.
Forget everything you think you know. Discover a world of possibility with one blade from Philips Norelco. The blade for beards. And be your best you. One blade from Philips Norelco. See Marvel's Doctor Strange in theaters November 4th.
When you freeze something,
it's for later.
But how much later?
There's no way to be sure.
But Wendy's is sure that if you want a juicy, delicious hamburger right now, it should be made with fresh, never frozen beef, unlike some other guys. So that's what's in every single hamburger Wendy's serves, and the doubles and the triples. Because at Wendy's, fresh never gets old.
MLB Tonight, all throughout the offseason, only on MLB Network.
Avenged Sevenfold are back with their new album, The Stage. Avenged Sevenfold, The Stage. Get it now on applemusic.com/Avenged Sevenfold.
I use my new steel building as a workshop and a garage, and I love it.
And now you can get the steel building you've always wanted and save big. For a limited time, Future Steel, the world's leader in steel buildings, is selling off selected models at rock-bottom prices. Save $400, $900, $1,600, up to $2,000 on selected models during this limited-time inventory sell-off. Simply call the number on your screen or visit us online for a free brochure and list of sell-off buildings. Call right now.
Attention all users of the dangerous blood thinners Xarelto or Pradaxa. You may have been exposed to the serious risks caused by these medications. Call Guardian Legal Network now. There are time deadlines to file your claim. If we don't win, you pay nothing.